3 for 3 on the briskets. 3 for 3.
Good.
That cooker has not failed me once. I only do the 4 hours. I always wonder what the difference between 8 hours and 4 hours would taste like. But let me tell you, you know when people have newborn babies and then they constantly go to the crib to check it out and be like, oh, so cute. That's like me in the pressure cooker. I walk out there, I take a look, I'm like, ooh, oh, it's so cute.
Crock pot.
Yeah, my crock pot. So, yeah. So I don't make them often, but when I do.
Does yours have a clear cover?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Oh, okay.
It's like looking at the baby. I'm like, oh.
Oh, how cute. It's going to be delicious.
When I eat it, yeah. But no, it's nailed it every single time so far. Cannot complain. But yeah, Kenny was here last weekend, as you saw. Oh, what's up?
You could do your own souffle.
I could never take away from my aunt. I could never.
Would be your short. That would be your short. You put this meat in here with water, put the top
That's
on,
it,
and set it around.
Yeah. I still want to find a better, not salty brine or whatever you want to call it. Because to your point, the packet stuff is always it tastes like just a lot of salt.
Yeah, they're salty.
They're very salty. So
go online. You'll find something for brisket that is, made from scratch, sauce from scratch.
Yeah, because I feel like there's so many. I don't know if they just take a whole thing of salt and just throw it in, but sometimes it does taste like that. Like, I don't get sick from the amount of meat. I get sick from the amount of sodium and salt that's in it.
Yeah, that's not healthy. Yeah, that's the stuff that's crappy and not good for you.
Yeah. If it's only $1.50 at Harris Teeter, that's how you know it's probably not that good. But yeah. So how was the week, Ma? We haven't had a podcast with you since last week, since Kenny did last week's podcast.
Kenny was there last week, yeah. Good. Busy.
I was just saying to my mother, compiling the golfing footage has been a nightmare. So, nightmare in a good way, but it's just a lot of work. So, next time, Mom, you might have to hit the golf course with us. We've been talking.
I'll drive the cart. That's all I can do, drive the cart.
I'm sure you watched the last podcast with Kenny, but we were saying how we needed Michael to Mike to record. I think it would have been easier to, if I were to do it over, I would need an extra set of hands. So.
Well, I told you what Michael said. Originally, Kenny was driving 10 hours to you. He goes, no way. And then when Kenny all of a sudden was driving me to the airport, he's like, well, you're flying? I would have gone too.
Right.
But I said, someone has to watch the cat. You'd have to take
They could have brought Missy Buns.
She could have gone.
Well,
that's true.
Kenny said that now, after seeing how easy it is, he would do it. He would just fly the cat up. So I'm excited. I haven't seen Missy
Well, it's
Buns
easy for him because he goes to Wilmington. You have to pick him up.
Yeah, that's true. So
I don't think he wants to take the cat with the Charlotte routine.
Yeah, that would kind of suck.
More risky because you saw the delays he had, right?
Oh man, Kenny probably went from, he had delays from New Bern to Charlotte, had maybe 15 minutes to get across Charlotte to his next flight, and he texted me, he goes, I made it. I was like, no way. That's a miracle for those of you that haven't done the Charlotte connection anywhere in Charlotte, because Charlotte's such a big airport. Like, just God forbid your ticket says A to E, you're screwed, because just getting across that in 15 minutes is borderline impossible.
It's Murphy's Law. When you have time, you do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When you're running late for some reason, it's like 20 minutes. You're hitting every person. It's crowded. They're all walking in your face. It's just.
I always try to give myself like 3 hours there, just in case my flight gets delayed. But then I go, oh man, my flight didn't get delayed, and now I have 3 hours.
Yeah, it's awful. I think 52 minutes is enough, because you know what? If your flight gets messed up, they have to put you on another flight. That's all they can do.
And but problem is, from New Bern, sometimes there's only 2 flights a week.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, Ken's lucky because he's got a friend there in Charlotte that he could go crash with if he really, really needed to. So if you know somebody, that helps, rather than sitting in an airport till the next day. Nobody wants to do that. But anyhow. So yours is not the most convenient place to fly to. We've already established.
It's convenient to drive through, but not convenient to fly to. So
no, not at all. Not at all.
But I think Kenny had fun. We did a lot. We jam-packed the weekend. So we did pretty much everything. We wanted to go to that Mac Daddy's place, which is this place in by the beach, which is go-karts, mini golf, which Kenny would have liked. But the golf recording probably took us about 5 hours, which we did not expect. So it was probably about 2.5 hours of golf, and the rest was either sitting behind someone or just setting up recordings and whatnot. So it was
a holiday weekend. So no matter what, there's going to be delays. If you even that golfing place that you talked about, probably would have had to wait for a little bit too.
Yeah. So
I was busy.
Yeah, but all in all, it was a good week. How about you, Mom? What have you been doing? How's Graham doing?
I was gonna say, Grandma. What have been doing, Grandma? That's what I've been doing, Grandma. Dad made a joke last week. He said, "Okay, so what are our big plans for Memorial Day weekend?" And I looked at him and I looked at Grandma. I looked back at him and I said, "That's my plan. That's all I got." So, she didn't want to do anything. No, she's doing okay. I brought up the Casio today. The keyboard.
Oh yeah.
So I brought it upstairs with some of the sheet music because I was cleaning the basement a little bit.
Was she like this electronic shit nowadays?
She looks at it like as an insult. Like, what is that? It's my keyboard for the basement. Oh, what are you gonna do with that? I just leave it up here. If you want to try it, whatever. It is a little bit complex with all the buttons. Okay. So I turned it on. I showed her how you could pre-program a song, and then I turned it off. No headset, just put it on full blast so she could hear it. So now I'm in the kitchen making dinner. All of a sudden, I hear her start plink, 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 plink on the little piano, right? And then your father walks in and he goes, "What is that?" I go, "Oh, I brought up the Casio for my mother." He goes, "Oh, why don't you get her a set of drums while you're at it too?" She's not that bad. It was kind of quiet, kept her busy.
How does well, I guess for our viewers who don't know, my grandmother used to be a very good pianist. Before her arthritis and stuff kind of started kicking. I don't know how much she still plays, so maybe she's still good. Does she like that better because there's no tension on the keys?
You can't really test it because she's, the mind's not there as much anymore. She was happy that she could still read music, or so she said. I didn't hear her play anything complicated. She walked around a little bit holding her fingers. She said, "My fingers are just too stiff. I got to loosen them up." But we'll see. She moved the chair over to it, so she was sitting down. And my music that I have is very basic. So I said, "Here, just warm up with some of my stuff." And then I went to go make dinner.
It reminds me of when someone throws something into a gorilla in habitat, and then they kind of look at it for a second, and then they come back. That's like Grandma.
Yeah. Trying to figure out, walks around it. What is this thing? Do I like it? It's always negative at first.
Yeah.
But then when I came over to go turn it off or whatever, she almost tripped on the leg. I go, "Oh God, I don't need that." So I have to move it. I put it not in the walkway, but next to her desk in the living room. So it's maybe a little bit too much. But maybe if I put it off to the side, put a chair there, she can sit and do it and play with it. Try some songs while she's at it. I started to clean up the music and I heard her from the family room. Not even near it on the other side. I go, "Don't put the music away. I'm going to need it later." Okay. Think you're using this later?
Just complete change of events.
Yeah.
Change of tide.
She can't come down in the basement. So I have to bring it upstairs.
Right.
Otherwise I could have her come down here, but she can't do that. So I brought it up to the living room and, your dad's going away for the week. So I figured, all right, let her play around with it now while he's gone and it doesn't bother me. Whatever she wants to do.
Nice.
It's like, I'm telling you, it's like little kids. You just want to find stuff to entertain them. A video, a toy,
yeah, really.
a shiny new object.
All right, Mom. Where do we want to start today? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we have more than 10 articles today, all non-political except for your first ones.
You didn't send me any from you.
I didn't want to bore you, Mother. I didn't want. There's not much. I could explain pretty much all of them.
I'm trying to think of what to lead with. I had 2 mystery ones. The one out in the Milky Way. What's out in the Milky Way? Okay. 15,000 light years away in the Milky Way, there's a mystery object that's emitting pulses. They're doing it through X-ray and radio waves. Every 44 minutes, something goes out for 2 minutes at a clip. This is called a long period transience. They've had 10 identified since 2022, which I thought was quite a bit, to be honest. 10 of them in the last
when I was reading this article, I'm always they're like, we found something 10,000 light years away. I'm like, how do you even find that?
Yeah, well, they have the articles talks about how they pick it up.
The universe is so big, and yet we have a microscope that happens to look 100,000 light years.
Telescope, not microscope.
Telescope.
No, it's not just that, right? Because the one thing, if you read the article, they talk about one thing was picking up the X-rays at the same time that they were picking up radio waves
Right.
at this institute. But anyhow, they think it could be a couple things. Could be the core of a dead star, which is called a magnetar. It produced bursts of energy as it starts to break down. Or it could be a pair of stars with one being a highly magnetized white dwarf star at the end of its evolution. So that's something else that could be causing it. The lead person in the group who discovered it, I forget his name, he's like, we don't really know what it is. Could be that, could be a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
But kind of interesting. And they talk a little bit about the Milky Way, what it is. We're part of the Milky Way. We are kind of in the middle of that swirl, is where Earth is in the Milky Way.
Again, it always baffles me when they're like, yeah, we just found this thing 100,000 miles away. I'm starting to become a little bit more of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to NASA and what they tell us. Because they'll say shit like, we found this one very, very far object that's literally in the past, right? Because if you were to go back, I always find this crazy, but because of how light moves, if you were to instantaneously shoot 100,000 light years away and you look back at Earth, you would still be able to see things from 100,000. Like, we wouldn't be alive yet. See what I'm saying? It's kind of wild to think about.
Okay.
But that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson said. But that's kind of the concept. Not that we've ever tested it, because we've never been able to
How do you do that?
Yeah.
How would you do it?
So theoretically.
Theoretically, that would make sense.
I always want it, right? Does someone just sit there with a telescope all day and just try and hit shit until they find something? Like, like, you go, what are the odds of us finding in a vacuum of infinity? Oh, by the way, there's this dead star.
Right, but you're forgetting that they have probes and whatnot out there all the time. Every continent has some, type of NASA that's always looking for information, always trying to pulling anything they can out of the universe, and that's how they find out information. When I first heard it, I thought, well, maybe it's some sort of mechanical satellite or something that, they just can't see it. It just went that far out, because it seems very mechanical that it emits it at a regular, and it's two things, radio waves and X-rays.
Yeah.
So that was my first thought.
My question is still, right? And this is where my conspiracy brain kicks in. We still have yet to create anything that can move faster than the speed of light, right? And if that theory is correct, that 100,000 that I told you, where if light...
Yes.
Right, if you were to go backwards. So technically, wouldn't that mean that if we see it 100,000 light years away, wouldn't that mean that this star was there 100,000 years ago and we're just seeing it now because that's how far the light's passing?
You started to say about if it's 100,000 light years away, is there a time difference, right? Some sort of time.
Right, so if we're seeing it now and we don't have anything that could keep up with the speed of light, including X-rays, probes, whatever, I need someone to explain to me if they're looking back at us and it's 100,000 years in the past, if we look forward towards them, doesn't that mean that that's 100,000 years in the past too? Because light travels the same speed at going left and right.
Yeah, I don't think you're reading light years right.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the definition of light years.
I need Neil deGrasse Tyson on here, or whoever knows what they're talking about, because I'm just taking a guess
on it, and I'd have to Google it, and I can't do that with my computer while I'm doing this. But I don't think that that's the right interpretation of light years. I will say this: there is that distance, and there is a time difference. They're emitting something that they're picking up on, but that doesn't mean it's instantaneous. It could have been something that was emitted months and months ago that we're just picking up now, and it's happening every 44 minutes for 2 minutes at a clip. That's the definition of it. I don't know that's happening in real time. Like the ones we're hearing now may have been emitted, I don't know, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Yeah. And we're picking it up with the systems that we have. The Australian Radio Telescope is one of the main, and the other one was that Chandra satellite thing.
Huh. Well, it's cool either way. I just, there's a lot to space I just don't understand. Because they say things that kind of go against what they say another time, and I'm like, they're all liars.
Well, yeah, I think some of it's theory, because to your point, we can't test it. And the theory is based on what other people have discovered, and they try and come up with explanations for things. But it was interesting to read about the Milky Way galaxy too, and just something else, a mystery out there.
It's
My
aliens.
other aliens. My other mystery was the orange cat. The orange cat mystery.
The orange cat mystery. I
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest. I read this one and I didn't. It's not that I didn't quite understand it. It's just I was like, wow, this is something I have no interest in. I don't want the orange cats. I hate orange.
I've never realized that that orange cats were such an unusual thing.
Right.
Especially, I think they're more common in males, right? So, a professor, Dr. Sasaki at the Kyushu University in Japan is very interested in this and started studying it. So, the DNA in cats with the white-orange fur, they found a missing section of the gene that's called a mutation on their gene strand. It's the ARHGAP36 gene. More males are orange cats than females. Why? This is an X-linked chromosome, which means they're located on the X chromosome. So in females, this is where the biology comes in, and I tend to forget a lot of this stuff. In females, one of the two X chromosomes in each they randomly switch off, and the cells randomly switched off. It's called X chromosome inactivation, and because of that, it's unlikely to be expressed in every cell. To be in orange, you must have it expressed on both of those X chromosomes. And because in females it switches off, the chances of it happening are slim. In males, they have the one X chromosome, therefore they're more likely to express the mutation. Nothing switches off, I guess. Then it goes on to explain a lot of technical stuff about how it affects coloration. But I was just kind of fascinated by the fact that, I never realized, first of all, there's a difference between orange and calico. Apparently it's a different thing. And also, that it's more common in the males than the females to have an orange cat.
It's funny how I can name 50 dog breeds, but I don't think I can name a single cat breed. I just don't know. Persian, calico, and naked, or Egyptian, whatever you call them.
Naked
and the Mancoon. The Mancoon's sick. Those are the big ones.
Feral.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like Missy Buns. All I wonder is, does this gene problem also the reason? Is it also the reason why the orange ones are so mean? The orange ones are always mean as hell.
Interesting thought. Yeah.
They're always.
Since it's mostly the males, I guess it's not bitchy females. So.
Yeah. What else?
My other mystery, which is sort of a mystery. Now we jump to the political side.
Oh.
Margot Cleveland from the Federalist has a long.
Is this the one?
No,
not that one.
String, whatever. Okay. She's talking about something. I just brought this up because, we always talk about we've been learning about the deep state and what all that stuff means. How do they operate? Blah, blah, blah. She's a very bright woman. She does a lot of legal stuff, analyzes a lot of legal things. So we have the thing called the Brady mandate, right? So Brady states that it's all about evidence and criminal cases. You have to divulge all exculpatory evidence, right? Whenever you have some sort of case. Right. If you read her string, so she was, they learned from the FBI. The FBI uses a system called the Sentinel system. Okay, fine. That's where they load all their information, evidence, whatever. They're learning that there are new categories. Two of them they usually have, and there's one new one no one knew about. It's called prohibited access, and the other one is restricted access, okay? Prohibited access means no documents come up when you do a search. Restrictive access shows the documents, but it says you need clearance. So in other words, I can move a document into restricted and say only certain people with a certain level of clearance. Okay. And normally people would search the Sentinel system to get evidence or whatever, right? If you get a request from Congress or from the court or from another lawyer, you get the evidence. Okay. If it goes to this prohibitive access, what's interesting is you could do a search and the documents won't come up at all. Wow. So it's almost as though there's evidence out there that nobody knows about if you purposely want to put it into this access area, right?
So what's one thing that I'm not really understanding. So Sentinel is the name of the program that they use to store everything, right? So she's saying, when she uses this Sentinel app that the FBI uses.
No,
okay.
No, not an app.
This is
it's what the FBI agents use to load information to access it. It's like a storage.
Yeah. So it's an application or some kind of service that they have. Right. So does she have access to this service, and that's why she's looking, because if
No,
you have
she's
clearance, right? So
no,
if I
she's
had
a
this, if I
writer.
had
She's
access,
a
oh,
legal.
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
She's a legal writer, right? So she usually comments on cases that have been going on, like the lawfare cases with Trump, with the FBI, with
Mhm.
both down here with the FBI and everything else. So what she's saying is now we're made aware of if somebody, say for instance, like, and she mentions a couple at the end. She says, Director Patel, you need to answer some questions here. So, for instance, the Russia hoax,
Mhm.
right? The day after Robert Mueller, who was the special counsel person after he was done, if you will, some files were moved over. Okay. Um, when people do a FOIA request and they want information from the FBI, so say you do a FOIA request on the Russia hoax, right?
Okay.
Say it's the dossier. She's saying, well, what happens if somebody goes in and they have a criminal case against someone regarding the Russia case? If it's a prohibited access, an FBI agent isn't going to get all the exculpatory evidence because it won't know that it's there. It's totally hidden, if you will. Understand?
Yeah,
So
but I
when you
guess
have a
my
criminal
question though
case,
is, Mom, so if she's not FBI
right?
and she doesn't actually have access to this Sentinel app service, right? How would she know what she can and can't access? Like if I worked for the FBI and I typed it in,
No, you're missing the point.
okay,
If I have a criminal case against somebody and I need evidence from the FBI, because of the Brady mandate, the
oh,
Brady rules, anybody in a criminal case, and both lawyers know this, you must divulge all exculpatory information. In other words, you can't hide the knife in a murder trial if you're a lawyer because you don't want the other side to see it. You can't do that. That's exculpatory. Same thing with the FBI when you get information from them. So think of all the people that we've prosecuted with the FBI or we brought charges against, right? Think of the Mueller probe. Think of Lisa Page and all those individuals, right?
see,
I'm using them as examples. Anybody who brings a case against them, they're entitled to all the information. So you put a request into the FBI. They are, by law, under our Constitution, but they are supposed to give you all information that you request within the scope of what the judge says they need, any evidence regarding whatever the criminal case is. What Margot Cleveland is discovering and talking to people at the FBI and what they're seeing now and they're learning, apparently there's a system where an agent can go in and say, okay, the judge wants all the information on the Russia case. Some files will come up. But if some of the files were put under the category of prohibited access, nothing's coming up. And that individual can't even say to the judge, listen, there's a document there, but it's restricted. They don't even know about it. That's a major issue under our Constitution because there could be loads of documents under there, right, that could have proved the guilt of a lot of these individuals,
right,
but we didn't have access to it. And that's true for all FBI if they're using the system. So if you scroll down to the end, she asked the question and she's absolutely right. FBI Cash Patel, did Durham and the IG search for prohibited access documents? Why not? Did Post Special Counsel Mueller ever provide the Washington field office the documents related to Nellie Orr and search prohibited access? So in other words, all these cases, all of a sudden now, there's probably, we don't know, but there could be a boatload of evidence that the FBI has where all of us taxpayers were spinning our wheels for how long? $30 million was spent by Mueller to
right.
prove that, yeah, there's really no case there with the Russia hoax. But hey, by the way, as a taxpayer, some of us said, listen, this thing was a scam from the beginning, and now we know it was. You spent $30 million of my tax dollars. Now I'm finding out that some of the evidence early on that could have shut this garbage thing down and saved me tax dollars,
Has just been hidden.
nobody had access to. That's against our Constitution. These are criminal cases. It also affects civil cases like people, YouTubers, right, who are trying to prove that they were censored. If the FBI had damning information and could prove that, but they put it under this prohibitive access, a YouTuber that was suing and had a legitimate cause to get information, if that was hidden by the FBI, proving that somebody was censoring them, that's against the Brady Amendment. They had access. They were supposed to have access to that. So this is a serious issue in one of our government agencies, and she's bringing it up to Kesh Patel. I think Patel is aware of this because he made comments last week about how we are finding things. He said, like rooms, right? Rooms with information. He said they weren't hidden rooms. He literally meant rooms that had documents in that nobody knew about. But I'm wondering if now they're starting to clue into some of these other, like, subversive kind of systems that we have going on in some of our government agencies. That,
I always wonder if like when they find these rooms, it was just like never meant to be hidden, but it was just an intern that they told them, hey, can you get this done? And the intern was like, yeah, and he just never did it. I always wonder if that's the big not thinking about, but Kesh Patel's a little on the chopping block right now because of his Epstein comments. Have you heard how he was saying how no, it's definitely a suicide? Everyone's like, well, hold on, that doesn't make sense.
I don't know, because I saw another article recently. Apparently, they do have certain inmates that they put in certain areas to monitor individuals that they think are suicide or whatever. And I forget the whole story, but basically this one individual said he was moved back to out of watch into restricted whatever, and he was there. And when he realized, then the day he heard that he was not getting out on bail, this other inmate's statement was his manner changed a lot because he realized he was probably never getting out of prison. And that night we heard sheets ripping when he was nearby.
See, I can't go by someone's words, but what I can go by is the fact that cameras were shut off. There's a camera that apparently has footage that we've never known about, right? The cops just decided we're going to take our break, right?
Yeah.
I saw a whole document, or I shouldn't say document. I saw a YouTuber say, won't say who's very in the know, say, or brought up a good point that the reason that we will never, like, clearly there was a lot of people on that list that didn't want information out there, and they would have every reason to get rid of them. So why would they draw the line at this, right? Like, why would this be we don't want to kill him in prison? Like, there's too much evidence stacked against him in the sense of the physical evidence, not that he said, she said,
There's
or maybe
to say that he wasn't going to get killed in prison, right? The only thing I would say is Giselle Maxwell, right? Ghislaine Maxwell, her name is. She's still alive. Nobody killed her, and she probably has just as much damning information. The other argument I would say, and they did say that, this individual's comment was, and I forget what role he was, but he said cops leaving their posts happens all the time. That's nothing unusual in the system. And also he says none of the cameras work. But if it was selective footage, that's a different story. Yeah. I don't remember,
that sounds like such a cop-out.
Yeah.
But also...
I don't know. But for Patel to say it, he's got nothing to, what does he care?
I saw a whole breakdown onto why. The whole breakdown is they have to say this because and this is alleged, not factual, but the people on there are so much more powerful than we believe in the sense of it's all these very successful billionaires and millionaires and blah, 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 who have a lot of power in government, who are not government. And if that list went out, it would be a nightmare for every country. So I think that's the reason why they're always going to label it a suicide, and we will never see that list. If they said suicide and gave out the list, then okay, then I would believe them. But for some reason, we're not going to give out the list, and it was just a suicide, nothing more to see here, even though there's so much evidence that there was too many things that happened that would determine a murder, right? Or they forced him into a suicide.
Go back to this one comment. The second in command is still alive. She is not dead. She knows as much as he did.
Right. Unless she's just that good of a bargaining chip. But also then I would say, well, yeah, I guess it really just comes down to the way you look at it. But I would say maybe the reason they're keeping her alive is because half of them want the information as blackmail and the other half wants it gone away so that it never goes out. So I think she's kind of in the perfect neutral position, but that would just be my thought process. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really hate to say it, but I don't care in the sense that of all the things out there that are important to me, this individual should have been prosecuted a long time ago. Okay. All the victims that he had, unfortunately, they may never get their justice. Obviously, they won't get the justice that they deserve. The one recently died, and we don't even know, she had so many problems, so many issues. But um, that's one of those things where whether he killed himself or committed suicide, no one's going to get to the bottom of it anyhow.
Right.
Right? We already established that, which is wrong, but is the world a better place that he's not there? I don't know.
It's not the suicide that's the problem. Truth be told, I don't care how he died. The problem is because we can deem it a suicide, it's all the more reason for people to just be like, oh, we don't care about the list then. Right? If they said it wasn't a suicide, then it would bring more buzz to the actual list.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. I don't know. The list is, we don't need him for the list, right?
Right, we hope.
If somebody wants to issue that list, they could put it out there. But the only way that's going to happen is if somebody steals it and leaks it. Because nobody's going to put it out. Trump's not going to put it out there. They're still chugging along on the JFK
the question
assassination.
Is why would they not release that? Right, that's the part that gets everyone a little confused. Of all the things, JFK happened 60 plus years ago.
Well, because it's more valuable to have the information to blackmail people than to expose them.
Okay.
Because if it's if you work the numbers on it, let's say it's an enormous number of people. Let's say there are so many and they're high-ranking individuals, blah, 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 that, to your point, it's going to take down the whole system. All right. Well, maybe instead of, cutting off the whole body to fix the heart, you do it, in small cuts here and there. Yeah. And you go after the individuals and you go up high in the tree. To your point, you put it out there. The elites will, whoever's involved, they all band together. I mean, somehow it's been alleged that the Prince of England was involved. They're still talking about it how many years later? There's still photo evidence and whatnot. They're still backpedaling. Right. So it might be better to keep it under wraps to some extent, control the information and to whom it's directed at, than massively releasing it. And to your point, it goes nowhere. It becomes such a big bomb that it goes nowhere.
Right. I also, though, I think the other thing that kind of, I don't know if it supports my argument, but it's something that I always wonder is, and why I think it does have to do with just people being so powerful they just can't disclose it. We have more than enough information that Bill Gates went to that island like 50 times plus. But he literally just walks around town like nothing happened, right? If you look at anyone else that's on that list, they've kept a really low profile. Bill Gates, he's buying more companies. He was on shows. He's doing interviews. It's like, okay, so this is a guy that's clearly just too powerful to blackmail or to if something bad ever came out about him, it would be a problem for many countries, I think, right? Like, I think that's the thought process. It baffles me that not only has not made a statement, which sometimes the silence is louder than just making the statement, but the evidence is heavily stacked against him, which is why I'm like, man, you must have either no care in the world or have some kind of counter evidence. But I would think that he would say by now, oh, I have this evidence that I wasn't there or that this didn't happen. But he just kind of walks around like nothing happened. It was very strange to me.
He doesn't have to say anything. Why would you say anything? Why would you even make a statement? If nobody's bringing charges against you, you're foolish to say anything. And I'm sure every lawyer has said, until somebody makes you respond, don't even bring it up. And no one's going to ask him that question.
It's just so weird, though, because you can't go there X amount of times, like more than anyone on that list, which, I guess it's just alleged because we haven't seen any files or evidence. But based on flight logs, he's been on there a lot of times. So why? I feel like if you were in that position, if it wasn't true, you would make a statement saying, at least to kind of save face. But to watch you walk around like nothing happened or like you haven't been there more than everybody else, that to me speaks volumes of how much power that guy has.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of money.
Yeah, scary.
But you see what it's like. Look at an Elon Musk. When certain groups turn on you, right?
Yep.
They can really make your life miserable. Well, none of the libtards are going to turn on Gates right now. right? He's funding campaigns. He's doing the climate change. He checks off all
All the boxes.
the
Yeah.
boxes that they love. So as we've seen, and that's they used to love Elon Musk with his Tesla cars,
Yeah.
and look at how it turned. It's really an interesting um, study, right, in human nature. And for those of us who sit back and you just say, give it time, the masses will turn on somebody like that. That always seems to be, and it may not be in his lifetime.
It's just so
It may be
strange.
down the road,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's a study in human behavior and things that people get away with that others don't. And we keep saying time and time again, as more and more, I talked about this FBI thing. We talk about stuff all the time on the show. Too many people are getting away with too much stuff. And that's wrong for our society. It's wrong for humanity. It is setting such a bad precedent for future generations to say, you can do whatever you want, you can have whatever you want. I mean, that was always true. Shit talks, money talks, shit walks. It was always true. If you have money, you can get out a lot of stuff. Think of all the kings, the queens, the popes, this what. But now it's going down into lower levels. Not to say that, the elite should get away with it, but it's permeating into society. And now nobody cares about Epstein.
It's crazy.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
It's also crazy how, right, Tesla is doing incredible innovations and people just want to see it fail because it's Elon. Like, that's always very strange to me. Someone who's actually progressing humanity, doing what NASA couldn't do because they literally asked Elon, like, hey, we need help with this. And they're like, man, I want to see Tesla fall. That's crazy. Like, that's a TDS. That's Trump derangement syndrome. But I guess
it's just a general derangement syndrome that you give them you pump this information into people's heads, and it's sad to say you would think it's a lot of people. It's not a lot of people. It's a small group of people that have been so I don't want to say, but you're brainwashed to some extent to believe something that you can't even tell them what they said yesterday. Yesterday was a different story. No. They're just so it's this, and tomorrow you tell them nope. Now it's like they flick a switch, right? That's that critical thinking that I keep telling you with the schools and whatnot. The next generation, they're not learning how to think for themselves. They're getting fed information, and that's exactly what our school system, and we've seen the product of it. They stand on a lawn and they say death to a certain group of people. Right. When was that ever considered education in our country? When was that ever considered free speech to say death to a certain group of people? That's coming out of academia. That's why it's such a big deal that it's coming from our colleges and whatnot. That's why you're supposed to have critical thinking, to think for yourselves. We're seeing the opposite going on at a very expensive cost to taxpayers to come out and criticize a group. So back to your point, it's permeating. It's getting into too many parts of our society where we're losing a moral compass around the world. It's not just the U.S., and it has to stop. Now it's okay. So if you think about it, the people who were wronged were the young women, who were young girls who were dragged to that island. For whatever reason, under whatever mentality that they did that, they have a right to say, I'm pressing charges, right? And as society, we don't want people like that. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care who you are and who you know. You don't have a right to do that to people. But because those young people aren't pressing the charges, and it was a while ago, people move on to the next crisis, right?
Exactly. Speaking of Gates and Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon, Sam Altman announced the end of smartphones, but Tim Cook is not playing along. So Mark Zuckerberg, obviously, Facebook, Elon Musk, right? We have Tesla. And Sam Altman is the head of OpenAI. All else, now Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple right now, for those of you that don't know. But they were talking about the next iteration of technology. What are smartphones going to be doing? What's the next effort? So this just goes to show me even more why I don't trust Bill Gates. But they talk about Neuralink, which is Elon's big thing. Elon's Neuralink is showing great potential, but it's still in more of the medical phase, right? So it's used for people who have disabilities, axons, reconnecting axons and neurons to basically make them healthier. And then it's going to go or kind of move to eventually the digital, make your cell phone a part of you, right? Which we still have time for. The one that really kind of bothers me more, and maybe it's just because I have something against Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Love your
I
computers,
don't
by
like
the way.
that at
Yeah,
all.
right. Different kinds of Chaotic Moon, a Texas-based company developing electronic tattoos. These devices, worn directly on skin, are designed to collect and transmit data through nanosensors, health tracking, communication, geolocation, so that they know exactly where you are at all times. The
Yep.
tattoo effectively transforms the body into a digital platform without the need for handheld devices. I gotta look into this thing. I don't even know. I've never even heard of it until this article. But it's stuff like that where Bill Gates kind of scares me. The Neuralink, I get it for medical principle. Bill, I don't know what we're doing here. Kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg's working on the augmented reality, which we've talked about, which is the glasses.
Yeah.
At least glasses I can take off. Tattoo
Right.
and a Neuralink can't really take off pretty easily. So
Right.
that one kind of scares me. Now, here's the other downside, though. So Apple talks about how everything that they want to innovate is a little bit at a time and make everything surrounded by the iPhone. So the iPhone is just going to keep getting bigger. Now, my problem with this is that it just gives them a reason to put out a new iPhone every year.
Yeah, really.
Right? Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Like, I bet you they have the technology to make, like, the iPhone 30 right now, if you were, like, 30 years in advance. But they're just going to do a little bit at a time, the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th, and you're going to pay a premium for it every time. So,
Right.
yeah.
And why? Why do they need all my biomedical blah 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 information in real time? Why do I want it? Why do they? Oh, I'm gonna know my blood sugar. I know this and that. Okay, if you need it for medical reasons, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing, and you tweak it for that specific thing, right? Like diabetes or heart condition. When they're just tracking human beings for the sake of tracking us, that works both ways.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting data, but they can also put data in you. No, thank you.
Especially
Flat
a tattoo
out.
and a Neuralink. Yeah. That, like, that out of all these, I thought that now that I really think about it, of all of these, I'm actually more okay with Zuckerberg's just glasses.
Right. It's one thing to try stuff. The
Yeah.
Neuralink, you have the option if you want to do it, and maybe they'll have ways to limit the parameters, like you can only access
Yeah.
my brain, whatever. You could say that about the tattoo, but I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't trust, and who's going to control this information, right? So once Mr. Gates puts this in everybody's arm, who controls that? The WHO?
Well,
The ones that tried to shut everybody down with the pandemic? I don't think so.
one of the biggest money makers for companies, any company, is the selling of data that they collect. So
Right.
It's not talked about enough, but literally every company that collects any form of data, they sell it. They sell it to other companies. Facebook, but even Steam does the same thing. So it's not like, that's why I'm like, man, maybe Zuckerberg's idea is probably the best one so far, except for Apple's. But Apple probably just has the same end goal. It's just that they're going to release it over time. So
And Gates is not, my interpretation of Gates, he's not about the money. He's not looking to sell it. If anything, he will entice a company to run it with the idea that, oh, you're going to make so much money. He's one of those consortiums of elites that just want they want to control human
information.
beings.
Yeah. They've
No,
made the money
human
that they
beings.
need. Yeah. They made the money
Human
that they
beings.
need. They made the money that they need, and now it's what's the next thing? Next one's control. So
His goal is to flip that switch and pick which people get to live and which people get to die. It's sad to say, but to net it out, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to release mosquitoes
yeah.
to, try and control a population. You don't get to make those decisions. No one person does.
Speaking of bad people, Bill Clinton in the nuclear codes. Now I have a problem with this. I have a big problem with this. So this guy
What's that?
basically reads this. He writes about how he was his military aide, so the carrier of the nuclear codes and stuff.
Just so you know, this is an old story. This
Yeah.
isn't something new. People have known this for a while.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
reason I don't like it though is because he's like, and it's all here, and here's my book that you should buy about it. I'm gonna
Right.
I never trust these unless you have written documents, and I mean actual documents that are written by like FBI, CIA, or someone about this. The concept of he got caught. Like I feel like he made this story up, and he can easily do it.
I don't know that he did, or if he did, it's a risky thing to do because you can probably get somebody at the Pentagon once they retire to verify if the story is true or not. I just found it interesting because this is just another case. I don't know if you recall. Um, a similar situation with Hillary and her aide, Uma Abedin, had all these classified documents in the back of a limousine, right? Stuff that's not supposed to be there. How cavalier, it wouldn't surprise me, put it that way, how cavalier some individuals are. And what I found interesting was, again, this is the people that supported Joe Biden with the cognitive issues. And they were the first ones. If you recall in the first term, Trump should not have access to nuclear codes.
Right.
He doesn't know.
I still think, though, like, I still don't trust. Again, when his thing is DM me for speaking and media requests, I don't know. I just feel like you're just trying to gain something off of a story that no one can actually vouch for. So that's why I'm like, this is
Well, let's tuck this one in. Let's tuck this one in the folder of let's see if something comes out down the road.
Yeah, we'll see.
Somebody else.
That'll be episode 1,700 something, whatever we're on.
Yeah. Once Bill Clinton dies, they'll all come out of the woodwork. You'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of politics, though, what was this, Ma? I might have to make fun of my Canadian friends. Charles Windsor acknowledged today that Canada is an illegitimate state. Now, I did not get that from this video that it posted. He unceded land while in the capital. Every level of Canadian government agrees that they should not exist. The country is thus legally a terra nullius and open to annexations.
Right. So Charles is, the figure. It's a commonwealth.
Yeah.
Canada, under the British government to some extent, even though they have their own government and their own policies, whatever. His comment was, and I laugh because, it feeds into the whole Donald Trump, I want to make it the 51st state.
Right, now it kind of gives him the option to, right? It gives him the ability.
Right. So basically what he's saying is this is unceded. So basically it was just taken from the Algonquin people. They never agreed to give it up. Right? It was originally their land. Well, I mean, you could say that also too about a lot of countries, including the UK. The Celtics came in and people came in. But if you notice, a lot of the people in the crowd started to get a little restless when he says that, because it's basically your king or your, the leader of the Commonwealth.
It's like looking at the bastard child and saying, get the hell out of here.
Well, and that you don't, I'm just reminding you all that you don't own this land.
Yeah.
Right? That this belonged to another group. I don't know what the hell his point was in doing that, but he's basically making the case for somebody like Trump who's saying, hey, you got options here. If you want to become the 51st state, we'll take you in and make you part of America. So it was just an interesting comment. And maybe the guy above, he kind of took it even further, but that's, basically what you can interpret it when the monarch says we took this for the Algonquins, so let's work together. What the hell?
Yeah. So basically we can take Canada now. Is all I'm understanding.
Yeah, basically they can join us. They can join us.
I think we're done with all the political ones. I don't think we have any more political ones.
No,
So let's go right to the medical stuff. First, a new antibiotic in 50 years to tackle a superbug.
Yes.
I couldn't even say this. Zoserbalpin. Zoserbalpin? I think I nailed that.
Zoserbalpin, yes. So Roche is the first one to come up with this in 50 years. So we have bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is becoming a big problem. The World Health Organization says it's an urgent threat, blah, blah, blah. It's very hard to test that because the irony is the more antibiotics you give, the more resistance you're going to get. Right. So you can't keep trying different things. But what they've done, which is interesting to net it out, they've created this particular one that it tries to disrupt the cell membrane formation. So the bacteria doesn't grow correctly and kind of kills it off, which is a very interesting way of approaching it now because we're running out of options here. And 40 to 60% of people who get these, they're pretty common, the pneumonia and the sepsis. Sepsis is a big problem in hospitals. Why is it a big problem in hospitals? Because normally it's people that have immune systems that are compromised. So if you get sepsis or whatnot, you're more likely to die from it, 40 to 60%, which is a huge number.
I guess I don't know what sepsis is. In my head, from all the doctors and medical shows I've watched, sepsis is when people go into surgery and then they get sick from the surgery, like whether it be like bacteria gets in from open heart surgery or from, right? That is what it is?
Yeah, it's when you could have sepsis in your body, say something ruptures. That's a
Right.
big concern because if it's something bad, it gets into your body and bacteria gets in
Right.
there, it'll kill you. That's the sepsis. So you need something to fight that. And we're running out of options. So that's why they're saying they're attacking it from a different way. So this will open up avenues of developing other bacteria resistant drugs that are they don't just kill the whole thing. It goes after the formation and it kind of kills itself. It doesn't form properly and it dies that way. It's very important because we need other options. Same thing with like pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia. If you have cancer and you're on, as you know from people who have been treated from cancer, you can't get sick. You can't,
Right.
they can't get bug bites even. They can't fight an infection necessarily if they're on chemotherapy or whatnot. So if they get a bug or pick up pneumonia, 40 to 60% of them are going to die. So this gives them options of ways to treat this where they might actually, the body might actually be able to fight it with this drug. So the exciting part, and you keep reading all these other people's comments from all these other organizations, is that, yeah, it's giving us a new way to look at bacteria and how we treat
Right.
antibiotics.
I read that the main problem was they couldn't get through these double wall membranes. Right. We've never really been able to get through them unless we did like super advanced, super dangerous drugs. This does it safely. Can get through that double membrane.
It does it safely, and it does it by affecting the membrane itself,
Yeah.
right? It tackles the, ready for this one? Acinetobacter baumannii is the thing that's the actual bacteria that causes
I keep that one in my vocabulary at all times.
We thought the zosterobalin was hard. Yeah, that particular bacteria is a nasty one.
I saw a little video, sort of on topic, but I'm curious what your thoughts would be on this. There was a lady that had I guess it was a kidney surgery or some appendix surgery, I guess. Let's just say it was appendix surgery just because that's not the point. But the doctor does surgery on her to fix it, not take it out, but fix it. And then he branded the appendix with like his own logo or whatever. And then weeks later, because it wasn't finished, another doctor goes in to do the surgery and he sees the doctor's branding. I was like, how would you feel if your doctor branded just to say that he did this surgery? Does that bother you at all?
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
I knew that would be your answer. I wouldn't really care. As long as it didn't affect me. I don't know. That would have been...
As long as if he put that information, maybe she signed off on it and said that would be okay. Maybe that's his.
He lost his medical license, so that's not it. But I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, I guess doctors don't do that. Not that you would want to, but I was like, I guess as long as there's no downside to it.
Well, I think there's always a risk of downside because technically, first do no harm is, medical profession. If you're taking time or doing another, even if it's an instantaneous procedure that's unnecessary.
I guess that's true, yeah.
There could be risks with that, and I just don't think that should be allowed.
I just thought that was funny that this guy, for years, every surgery he does, he's just been putting a brand on people's inner organs just to say, this was me.
Yeah, how arrogant, Jeez.
Speaking of medical stuff, FDA halts sale of off-brand Ozempic and other GLP-1 drugs. Convenient, considering the big craze right now is retabutride.
Yeah.
Is it time to get on, Mom? 20% to 25% more effective than Ozempic.
Nope.
GLP-1 peptide.
Nope.
Mom, do you want me to keep throwing up in the bathroom, or do you want me to get on GLP-1?
Nope.
I've been practicing.
Unless you have a medical condition, such as diabetes or whatnot.
It's called fat, Mom. That's my medical condition.
These things never work long term.
Let me get on retabutride.
Well, when will people learn? There is no shortcut.
Well, this retabutride. I mean, I've been watching every fitness influencer talk about it. We don't need Ozempic and whatever it's called anymore. That's for people with diabetes. The I keep saying it wrong, but I don't know. The more I see on it, the more I'm like, the second Dr. Mike Israetel says, get on the RP or whatever it's called. I was going to calling it the R peptide. Ma, I'm going to get so good with needles.
There's always a backlash. May not be now, might be down the road, but there's always some sort of backlash.
It's just going to get better, Ma. It's just going to get better. Ma, I can put a needle in my glute.
Nope.
Mom, let me do it. But anyway, So this article talks about how the FDA, obviously, they were talking about the shortage back in February. All of a sudden, the
Yes.
shortage was over. So now it's very easy to get. It's becoming cheaper. And then all of a sudden, they were like, yeah, we're going to stop the non-main medical group Ozempics. So like other off-brand stuff. They're all FDA approved because they're all just Ozempic, just with different carriers. But they're like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
It just seems like this seems like a very controlled.
Big pharma's putting their foot down. They want the money.
Yeah, essentially, that's what it is. They're like, oh my god, everyone's on this right now. So
I'm waiting. It's going to be a huge backlash.
yeah,
It's starting already with some of these ones. Like you saw Sharon Osbourne. She's been on it probably the longest of anybody. And she's a mess.
is she?
She's a mess. Oh, yeah. She doesn't even look good.
Well, that's because she's taking Ozempic and not on the peptide.
Well, whatever, but she says, she cannot put weight on anymore. She's going to wind up withering away.
Good.
She looks sickly, but yeah, all these individuals, and it's scary because the ones they have the money to hide or to compensate for some of these odd things that are happening to them and have doctors on call, whatever. But your average person, oh, gee, why am I, got weird stuff coming out of my belly button or whatever. they don't have necessarily access to that level of medical care. They wind up getting a band-aid on the belly button, they get sent home, and they wind up having even worse problems down the road that you and I will have to pay for with our tax dollars. Having said that, it's the same thing. Stop eating so much. Start with the basics. Our society is getting ridiculous.
Or get 100 milligrams of retrobutide and start injecting into your glutes.
You know why it doesn't matter? Because what we're also learning, okay, we've learned that these Ozempic things, they all work. But you have your head in the sand on purpose. If you're not paying attention to what they're saying about how grossly modified our food has been for the last 20, 30 years. So for people, and I remember saying this like,
which the FDA also approves, by the way, right? Food and drug. Go ahead.
Right. 10, 20 years ago, hand to God, when people were fat when we were younger, which was very rare. In my own family, there were fat people. It was not common to see heavy, overweight people when I was young. They were fat in their stomachs, right?
Right.
Maybe their neck, their whatever. As time went on, and like when you were little, you'd go to the amusement parks and everybody was eating like food was going out of the picture. People were fat, but they were weird fat. It was all in their bottoms. It was in their legs. It was in their arms. And I would look at that and I go, something's really weird about that. Our bodies haven't changed. Why are we getting fat in weird places? Why are some women small on the top and they're enormous?
So that's actually exactly what that retrobutide is supposed to fix. So it stops the pathways to put it into weird places. Like you ever see the 600-pound sisters where she's got fat up here? Like there's no fat cells up here. How's that possible? Right. So it has something to do with the foods, and that retrobutide is supposed to.
Right. Well, and that's fine, but it's like what we're saying. Oh, take this drug to help your antidepressant work better. Take this shot to help compensate for the food you're sticking in your body.
You're not it's good for someone who's exercising and putting the work in. But if you're not exercising and you're taking this stuff, I mean, I can't imagine what you're doing to your body. Like if you literally said, I'm going to take a year of exercising every day, doing weights, cardio, whatever, as long as you can stick with it. Yeah.
You won't need the stuff.
Yeah, but it helps.
Over time.
That's like, you don't need vitamins every day, but we take them because it helps. Same concept.
You do need vitamins because our food is crap,
but
and
you
you're
can get
not
them from other
getting
places.
essential vitamins.
You
can get them from foods. You're right, but you're not. If you're sick, you drink more orange juice. That's food. You drink more fluids than orange juice. You don't go right for the shot. You don't go right. Oh, let me extra dose on vitamin C's. You can versus getting small amounts from your orange juice. The point is, you could do this stuff over long term. It's, the tortoise and the hare. You know the story of the tortoise and the hare?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Everybody wants the hare. Everybody wants it fast. I'm going to eat fast. I'm going to lose weight fast. The tortoise winds up winning the race because he knows I got the full length of the race. I can do it a little bit every day, and he finally winds up winning it because the hare wears himself out. You didn't put the weight on overnight.
No.
Okay? So, and if it's unusual weight and you're having trouble getting it off, I'm the first one to tell you, I understand people struggle. If you're obese and on death's door, you're right. Time to take a shot because you're going to die from something. But for these individuals, like these actors and actresses, are setting such a bad precedent that they have to be a size 0, they can't be a size 2 or whatever. It's their business to do it. But, you know,
I just hear a lot of jealousy in your voice, Mom. That's all I'm saying.
no,
Look at her fitting in a size 0.
well, let me tell you, I don't understand it because they were always thin. If you look at the actresses from the 1940s and 50s, they're smaller than some of the skinny girls today, but they were healthy looking, right? So it's not like it can't happen. Many of these celebrities, they can afford the dietitians, the workout people, and whatnot. I don't know where this fascination is coming with. Now I got to do it even faster. I mean, it's not like they struggled before. When you were younger, the actresses were coming out saying, "Oh, I lost all my baby fat in 1 month," making every mom feel terrible. But as far as we know, they didn't use Ozempic. It wasn't around then. So this is just a new fad, if you will, that I have a feeling I wouldn't be surprised if the pharmaceuticals are using these celebrities to push it, like advertising.
Yeah. What else? You know who needs to take more vitamins, especially sunlight ones? The girl from freaking Last of Us. Have you seen? She gets so much hate online.
Does she?
Oh yeah. I don't know what she did, but God, what a weird looking girl. Anyway, The Last of Us viewership drop, and it proves why modern TV is broken. Now, very interesting. Very interesting. So, I don't know. Have you been watching the show, Mom? Have you kept up with it or no?
All right, let me tell you my take on it.
Go ahead.
I did watch it. The first, I think, what is there, 3 seasons?
Yes.
I think I watched the first and the second. It's not bad. It's another apocalypse thing. It was interesting. She didn't turn me off to it. She was in Game of Thrones. She was very talented in Game of Thrones. I didn't mind her in this one. You know, it started to get a little social,
Justice.
you know, the usual checkmark things. But even that I could deal with. Pedro Pascal annoys the hell out of me.
I could tell you're not seeing the new Fantastic Four movie then.
No, and I couldn't. Even Dad was like, "Boy, they're all old. They're all old people for Marvel." Pedro Pascal. Now, I could be losing my mind, but I'm 99% sure. Right when he got into Game of Thrones, so that was a while ago, many, many years ago, he did some talk show, and I'm pretty sure he told this story. I'm going to say it's alleged that he was working with a young actor on his acting skills, and this actor told him he was going to try out for this job, and it turned out to be the Game of Thrones one, and he took it. He went and tried out for it, which really, I thought, boy, that's not something you want to say. I've never heard the story again. This was when he was first. So now all of a sudden, you know, now he's so popular, isn't everything. Make it worse. Now he's turning into like another social justice guy, you know, trying to lecture me about you're all wrong and your opinions are wrong and you're all idiots because you want a closed border, whatever. You know, he's taking on political stuff.
Really?
And that turned me off to it. So I was like, I'm not watching this show anymore.
Well, besides that, I mean, the show, I guess, killed the main character, which sort of, I forget how Last of Us ends the game. I think Joel does die, but it's been a while. We're going to do that speed run pretty soon. But
I didn't know it was a game.
The Last of Us?
Yeah, I never knew that was a game.
Oh, it's the whole show's based off the game.
I didn't know that.
It's a phenomenal game. People say it's the greatest of all time. I do not believe that even in the slightest. It's good, but it's not fantastic. I'll take any hate on that one. I'll fist fight anyone. I told viewers that I saw a clip while I posted it in Discord. This guy, he just to kind of go off track for a second, but this guy literally just challenges followers to a fight. So he brings boxing gloves, he gives it to a viewer, and they just go at it in like the center of Central Park. He's like, this one's a good one. He lasted pretty long. We'll see you in the next one. He dresses as a clown too. You fast forward it, he's got all the clown makeup on, and then by the end, it's all just everywhere because of how many times he gets punched. But
that's a neat idea.
Yeah, it's a neat idea till you freaking get CTE. When I was, hello guys, we're meeting with a new viewer, follower. But the problem with this show is, so I played the first one. The second one, right? Ellie is not into boys; she's into females. And in the game, Ellie's girlfriend gets pregnant with a guy, right? Very confusing. And then in the game, she's very like, how could you do this? You cheated on me, all this stuff. In the show, she's like, "Oh, this is great that you cheated on me. We're gonna have a baby." And boom, right down. Everyone was like, "Oh, okay, so we're against the game. You went full woke on us." Not to mention, it takes X amount of years to make these seasons, and the story's it's a pretty fast story. So when you slow it down, which has to do with production, but also if you watch One Piece, that's not that long to you. So, but yeah. It's a shame because everyone thought the show was going to be good. I don't know anyone that watches it anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, that is a problem with a lot of these shows. I mean, it's genius marketing because you wind up watching the rerun again because it's so long since the last season.
Right.
And Grandma's watching a show right now that I watched a while ago, and she's trying to get caught up with it. And I pop my head in every now and then to see if she's where I left off. A lot of the stuff I don't remember. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm missing some of it. But then I'll see the next show. I'm like, all right, now I saw this. But that's how long ago it was that I don't remember. I'm going to have to rewatch the last season and know where everybody was at. So it's genius in the sense that you're forced to watch the rerun. You may have to pay for the streaming service to do that before the next show comes out. But I do think it's kind of hurting the continuity of some of these shows. Yeah. You lose interest.
Yeah, because One Piece, when the new season comes out, right, the live action one, I doubt it's going to be as good as the first part. It's still going to have a huge fan base because it's a global show.
Right.
But it's definitely not going to have the American audience that it did when it first came out. So.
Right. And this one, I mean, I could probably turn it on and watch it and see where it goes. I just didn't care enough. I'm like, all right, I get the gist. Yeah. You know, it's a zombie, another of these zombie shows. I'm kind of looking for something new and different.
Yeah.
So this is pretty sad. So I watched The Chosen too, which is the religious one for Jesus and the disciples.
Right.
I actually had to rewatch the season.
Mother.
I know what's going to happen, but I was like, I better rewatch it to make sure I know, because they do bring in some new characters. I'm like, well, this is pretty pathetic if I have to rewatch The Chosen now.
Yeah. Really. Speaking of pregnancies, going to gaming stuff, pregnant wife defends husband after going viral for wheeling an Xbox TV into labor ward.
Oh my God. Classic.
This is the kind of guy. That right there is a hero, everyone. That right there is a hero. But in all defense, the contest was taken out. Here's the actual TikTok. When your man's ready, he's ready, super prepared. Ready? Look at this. Oh, where's the audio? It's gonna be yours until the day that I die. Look at that. Oh, baby. The TV. Love you forever. In his defense, she actually explained it. I forget what it was called, but basically, the baby was she was in labor for like a month or something like that, like something crazy. Yeah. Got home next time. We're going to go into the hospital for days without supplies. Inside the box he wheeled were snacks, hygiene products, and other items to make the hospital stay earlier. It wasn't just gaming supplies. Okay, so they were expecting June 25th and weren't prepared in April.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I think it meant went prepared in April. Wasn't expecting a premature.
No, they weren't prepared in April. So this started in April. The baby was due in June 25th.
Right. So reversed it. So
2 months in the hospital.
Makes sense. Right. Let's be honest. See, what I would have done is I would have made a new PC to bring to the hospital to keep there.
So they sent him home, and it looks like he said if this happens again and we're stuck in the hospital, he's going to come prepared.
Yeah.
That's what she was saying. So she probably went back in again, and he brought all the stuff this time.
That's a hero. That is a man. That is a legend.
Hey, that's somebody who should get a Switch too.
Yeah, really. They should be giving him some stuff. So,
I know the baby gift they need.
Yeah, right. Xbox Game Pass just had its strongest content quarter ever. But we can't expect this. But can we expect this quality forever? The Xbox Game Pass has been a banger for the beginning of this year, I would say. Between Expedition 33, which was that game I was telling you about. Remember the one where I won't spoil it, but that game has consumed my life the last month. I've been like, oh my God, this is amazing. The story. Just finished the midway point, Mom. I thought I finished the game, and then they give you this curveball where I was like, oh, So, anyway, between that game, we had Doom: The Dark Ages, which is good. The Division just came. Division 2 is now on Games Pass. It's just incredible how much they've put on the Games Pass the last month. But the reason I bring this up is because one of the big games I just said was Doom the Dark Ages. You remember Doom, right? Doom came out in like the 90s. Yes. You've heard of it.
Yes, vaguely.
The Doom the Dark Ages has reportedly sold less than 1 million copies. Out of 3 million players, 2.2 of them are playing on Xbox Game Pass. So we get played for free. So I was talking about this with Matt last night. I don't know how they make their money then if there's got to be some kind of deal that they have with Xbox, of course, and I believe Bethesda is owned by Microsoft. But I think we're starting to see the downside of that monopolization that we talked about a couple streams ago of Xbox buying everything. I don't know if this is a good thing or not. The fact that these giant AAA game companies now have to stay relevant, have to basically give their game free through a subscription service. Like, I don't know how they make money if 2.2 million are playing. No, there's no ads. There's got to be a contract. But Ubisoft, for instance, so the Division 2 just came out like 2 days ago on the Game Pass. Yeah. Ubisoft has been having a rough 2 years. Their newest Assassin's Creed died off really fast, which was a big one for them. They just had loss after loss. They had a Star Wars game that did horribly. And the rumors going around that they had to make a big contract with Xbox or Microsoft because the company's just eating dirt right now financially, which would make sense as to why they're putting all their games on there. But I just don't understand. The contracts must be pretty substantial from Microsoft, but I just can't see how you're making your money back if you're putting on a Games Pass that I pay $12 a month for.
Right. And they have no other hook into you. There's no other, you can't buy stuff in the games. You can't.
No hook whatsoever. I get to play the game. There's other editions of the game, but I've never bought those my whole life. So I guess where they kind of get you, or Microsoft makes its money is, right, people who play on Xbox have to pay monthly anyway to play online. I just have to, I just have a reoccurring payment for the games. Like, I make a killing on the Games Pass because $12 a month and I probably play $400 worth of video games. Right, from recordings and edits and whatnot. So I'm stealing from these mofos.
But the other thing is maybe, and that sometimes is like with the cell phones, right? Wireless phones. They get you with the come on, $15 a month. But once they have you, they can start tweaking up your monthly payments. Right?
But for me,
now it's gonna be extra.
Yeah, sure. So if I pay $20 a month, right now I think it's $12.
Oh, so you get it for $12 a month.
Right. If they bumped it up to $20, I still would be making, I wouldn't say making money, but I would still be saving hundreds of dollars. I think I would love to see a statistic on how many people just got Game Pass for Call of Duty. Because if they just play one game on the Game Pass and you're paying $20 a month, allegedly, if it goes up to that, 12 times 20. 240. 240. Sorry, I was like, my brain just didn't feel like doing the math. I was a psych major, people. Calm down. 20, that would be more than double the price of what the game's worth. So it wouldn't make sense to keep buying it. I think actually people on Xbox have to pay $20 because that comes with Live as well, which is the monthly like internet ability to play with friends.
I was going to say, you can't play with other people then if you buy the game.
What do you mean?
Can you? If I buy the game, physically buy or download the game, I don't have access to the internet access. I would still have to do that in order to play.
Well, yeah, on Xbox you'd have to pay. Yeah, on Xbox you have to pay. I don't have to pay. So, like, it's if anything, it's just pushing the level as to why PC is just better at this point, because now I can play all the Xbox games and not have to pay the monthly subscription for internet.
Not for the guy at the labor delivery.
Yeah, no, that guy's, yeah. I guarantee you he has the Game Pass. He's paying for the Game Pass.
That's true.
He was using that hospital Wi-Fi like a mofo. He was probably doing huge downloads, right? But
he ain't using no hotspot.
Exactly. No. He's on that. He's like, can I get the password to who can sneak me the password to the hospital, to the maternity ward?
The lights were dimming in the surgery room.
Yeah. We're trying to update everyone's medical charts, but we can't do it. But yeah, so it's just very interesting because we're starting to see the big dynamic switch of these companies are coming out with $80 games, but I can play them for $10 a month. I don't know where they make their money.
Well, unless that's the reality of how inflated
That's probably
the cost of these games are, that they can churn these games when all's said and done based on the number of people. Maybe it only costs them $5 a month for somebody like you, and you're paying $12.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you're right. I'd have to see numbers, and you have to see the financials on it. But they're not stupid. Obviously, they're not doing it to lose money. Somehow they're making money, or there's another hook.
Right.
Or a contract they do. I don't think they do contracts with cable companies for the internet. I don't.
Maybe.
Never heard of any of that.
I don't know. But I do know that I'm loving it. I like playing the brand new games day one on GamePass.
Right.
But I always wonder how long can they keep this up for before they start taking losses. So granted,
you're gonna wake up one morning, you're gonna get a message that it's now $100 a month. We just got
a month would be
$12.
I don't think I could $100 a month. I don't think I could play. I could probably play if it was $100 a month and they were putting out like every new game, then it would be worth it as a content creator. But as just someone who casually games, it wouldn't be worth it. Like I don't know what I would say if it gets any more expensive than $20 a month, I would say it's probably not worth it anymore. I'm better off just buying the game and owning it.
I guess so. The only thing is, don't you have access to other games, not just a game?
Yeah, but I feel like at $100, what if a month happens where no games come out?
Well, I look at it this way. We pay like over $300 a month for our cable internet, right?
Yeah.
That's a shitload of money for just the two, now three of us here. But, we have access to all these shows on TVs.
Oh, you're watching all of them, Mom? You're watching all of them? You're watching all 740 channels?
No, we don't. And that's what I'm saying. We have access to all of them. We pay a monthly fee for it. But for people who just stream games, right? You said I could pay $100 more. Well, technically, if you had regular cable TV, you could be paying over like $200 more.
You're paying $300 a month? You're paying $3,600 a year for shows that you don't watch? When are we going to get rid of cable, Mom?
Listen, it's not just shows. That's our internet.
Right. But why don't you just get in like what I have, internet only?
Because we still use the TVs. Dad still watches shows on TV.
Yeah,
like
but
Grandma
you can watch.
Right,
or you could just do the thing that Aunt Sue and Uncle Terry have, get the YouTube TV, which is all internet, and then just watch the games the same. Like, there's no point to cable anymore.
We're probably going to start doing that once we move. I mean, I don't foresee us because I very rarely watch TV now. And if we do, we could get by with probably basic.
That's crazy.
Whatever. But you know what our costs are too? Part of that 300 is all the boxes.
Boxes, yeah.
You have to rent each box for each TV. And I've gotten rid of a couple of the boxes because I'm like, we're never in this room.
Yeah.
And we've replaced it with the Apple TV and whatnot. So, in the Amazon.
Mom also got rid of the one in the family plane. You got it in the family RV. You got it out of the helicopter in Dad's backyard. So we had a lot of.
I have internet in my truck right now. Do you know that?
You have internet in the new one?
It's a trial thing. Yeah, the AT&T gives you like a trial Wi-Fi in your truck. I don't even know if I've accessed it yet. Yeah. Like, what?
Well, I forget what I was doing. Oh, I got something through like a ad deal that I did where I got Sirius XM for like a year. I was like, let me toss it in the Camry. Never used it once.
Yeah, I never use it. It's all it is what's his name? Howard Stern.
Yeah,
that's about it.
It's like, what's on here? Nothing. Oh.
Right.
Or I could just use Spotify through my car. Right.
And then they hound you about renewing it. Your subscription's almost up, or your subscription ended. In the next 5 years, I'm going to hear about my Sirius XM subscription. But yeah, no, it's my point is just, you're right. If it goes up to $100, that sounds like a lot to you, but honestly, that's nothing compared to if you had cable TV.
Yeah, that's crazy. Even then, does money just grow on trees, Mother? Like $100 a month is crazy. That's more than my internet bill anyway.
Right. Well, you'd have to take that and add it to your internet to get to my $3 compared to my $3 something.
Even then,
yeah.
But either way, Mom, I think we've covered pretty much everything tonight. Nice job. Good. Nice job. We just did an hour 30. It's been a while since we've done an hour 30 podcast.
Hour 30? Wow.
Hour 24 to be exact.
You know about Grandma bugging me.
Yeah.
She wants to watch the NBA game, and it wasn't. She was right. It was supposed to start at 8, and there was still some action show on, so I had to find another channel for her. She's freaking out.
Graham's like, I want to see the tall black guys.
I almost died the other day. Now I know she's listening. She goes, yeah, they had this announcer on there. He had the craziest name. It was like Shaquille O'Neal.
Really?
Yeah, Mom, you know Shaq O'Neal. No, I've never
Shaquille?
seen him. Yeah, he's enormous. Shaquille, you know, she's got
Shaquille. Has to make it French.
I don't know. She's just got it all. She butchered the whole thing, and I'm going, what the hell is she talking about? She knows Shaquille O'Neal. Not anymore. She doesn't, but yeah, he's a big guy, Mom. You're right. No idea he was a basketball player. I said, yeah, he's the same player as Towns, the same position as Carl Towns. Oh, no, I don't know him. I don't know him at all. Okay.
Yeah, maybe because he's out of his element. She remembers him from when he was bodying people on the Lakers. Now she just sees a guy behind her.
I don't know.
Wait till Grandma finds out what his net worth is. Then she'll go, oh, I know Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, and then she'll figure it out pretty fast. She was watching the game where they were down in the Knicks. It was the third game, right, where the Knicks wound up winning it. And
you say it like I watch any basketball.
Okay, they were down like 13 at the half.
Wrong demographic
right?
here.
And she kept saying to your dad, don't you watch the game? Don't you want to watch the game with me? Watch the game with me? And you know, Dad, he doesn't watch basketball till the fourth quarter. And he said, I don't watch it till really the fourth quarter. Okay. So she's fed up. She said, put on the streaming show. So she shut the game off. Dad and I were watching the last couple minutes upstairs, and they wound up winning. So I looked at your dad, and I said, do you want to tell her or should I? And he says, let's both tell her. So we go downstairs, and she's got the headset on, because she loves that headset, right?
Good.
She takes the headset off, and we go, the Knicks won. Get out of here. They did not. They were behind by the... Dad said, no, they won. They wound up winning it. So now she's got to watch the whole game from the beginning to the end.
That's funny.
Yeah. And she comments on each thing. Everything in the game.
Graham's so funny. Like when we're watching football, she's like, these guys don't get paid enough to be in the cold. It's like, Graham, do you know how much these guys are making? I would let them truck me for a fraction of what they're making.
This will give you an idea of this is what she's obsessed about. They have to stop yelling that defense.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy. If they would stop, our guys would win. Like she really thinks it's a machine that keeps playing defense. Oh my God. That's her comment at dinner.
It's the crowd?
Chris, I don't know. I'm like, okay, Mom. Okay. Whatever you say, Mom.
All right. Well, we can end it there. The only things I have to promote by the time this comes out, we would have had the podcast with Kenny. Wednesday was... Oh, no. I did that again. Monday was the cooking show with Aunt Sue, which I'm sure you watched. Mom did not watch.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did with Mama. Yes.
Sure. Wednesday was the podcast with Kenny, and then I'm going to post the speed run a day late because I was just so busy yesterday. So that'll come out on Sunday. So this comes out Monday. And then, I'm going to try and get that golf video done. I'm shooting for next Friday, but realistically, it's probably not going to come out till like 2 Mondays from now. Just, it's so much editing. I'm only through like the first half, maybe. So, and that's just getting all the footage together. That's not even edited. So, that's pretty much it. So social media, promo code, Streamlinks, Discord down below. And hopefully we will both see you next week. And I think that's a live one because we didn't do one.
Oh. I better next week.
Technically, this one was supposed to be the live one. So I don't know how travel's going to look for next month. So I don't know what we're all doing.
Okay.
So we'll figure it out. But ideally, we can do a live one next week because we missed this week with Kenny traveling. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we can make it work at some point.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Later.